Good morning, dear students. So today we'll move to the balance of the chapter Mechanics of Fluids. Okay. So today our topic is fluid flow. Our topic is fluid flow. Actually, there are two types of fluid flow. The first one is streamline flow. Streamline flow. And the second one is turbulent flow. Streamline flow and turbulent flow. Now we will look into the details of streamline flow as well as turbulent flow. Okay. So listen here. What is streamline flow? When a liquid flows such that each particle of the liquid passing a given point moves along the same path and has the same velocity as its predecessor, the flow is called streamline flow or steady flow. What does it mean? Suppose I am considering a tube through which the liquid flows. Now here I have considered 3 points like A, B and C. Okay. At each point, that is at the point A, if I am drawing a tangent like this will give the direction of velocity at that point. Again at the point B, the tangent will give the direction at this point as well as at C also. If I am drawing a tangent, it will give the direction of velocity at that point. So VA, VB and VC are the directions of velocity. How can you find the direction of velocity? At each point I can draw a tangent and then find the direction of velocity. Now what is streamline flow? So when a liquid flows such that each particle of the liquid, that means in this liquid you can consider a large number of particles, isn't it? So each particle of the liquid passing a given point, suppose I consider the point A and the particle passes this point, moves along the same path and has the same velocity as that of the predecessor. That means suppose one particle crossed this point A. It has a velocity at the point A. Again the next particle which is reaching this point A also has the same velocity as that of its predecessor. Predecessor means the particle which just moved or crossed this point. Understand? So any particle when it reaches this point A, it has the same velocity VA and also it travels through the same path. Understand? After crossing this point A, the velocity may change or may not change. It doesn't matter. Again when it reaches a point B, if I am taking each particle crossing this point B, it has the same velocity. So in such a way if I am considering, this will be like this, isn't it? And this path is known as what? Streamline. This path A, B, C along which the particles move one after another is called streamline. Okay. Now listen the definition. When a liquid flows such that each particle of the liquid passing a given point moves along the same path and has the same velocity as its predecessor, the flow is called streamline flow or steady flow. And here the path A, B, C along which the particles move one after another is called what? A streamline. Okay. So the particle velocity at a particular point always remains constant with time. But the velocities at different points may or may not be the same. Okay. Now at the point B, if I am considering, it has a velocity VB. Any particle reaching the point B has the same velocity VB so that it is traveling through the same path. After crossing this point B, its velocity may change or may not change. Okay. Now this streamline flow is possible only if the liquid velocity does not exceed a limiting value, and that value of the velocity is called critical velocity. Understand? Critical velocity. So how can you define critical velocity? So the critical velocity can be defined as the limiting value of the velocity of the liquid up to which the flow is streamlined and above which the flow is turbulent. So I already told that there are two kinds of flow. First one is streamline flow, in which the particle has a constant velocity at each point and it travels along the same path, okay, as that of the predecessor, that particular point. From with respect to that point, the particle has the same velocity, but as a whole, if you are taking, the velocity may change after crossing the point, but it follows a path, and that path along which the particle move one after another is said to be streamline. Okay, now I told this is possible only when it has a velocity. What is the name of that velocity? Critical velocity. So that velocity, or the limiting value of the velocity up to which the flow is streamlined and above which the flow is turbulent, is said to be critical velocity. Okay, the reverse, you can define turbulent flow also. How can you define turbulent flow? That is when the liquid velocity exceeds a certain limiting value called critical velocity, the liquid flow becomes zigzag, and the path, also the velocity, will change continuously, and this flow is called turbulent flow. Clear? So this is how you can distinguish between a streamlined flow and turbulent flow. And a bundle of streamlines forming a tubular region is said to be a tube of flow. Okay, for example, I can draw a tube of flow like this. So these are the streamlines. Okay. So these are the streamlines, and this bundle of streamlines forming a tubular region is said to be what? A tube of flow. So in a steady flow, the shape of the flow tube does not change with time. While in the case of turbulent flow, what will happen is the path will change, its velocity will change. For example, heavy rain, during that heavy rainfall, you can consider the flow as a turbulent flow. But the flow of a very calm river, it can be considered as a streamlined flow. So that's a difference. That means such a steady flow is called what? Streamlined flow. And without any constant velocity, if the path is getting changed, its velocity is getting changed, the flow will be in a zigzag manner, which we call it as a turbulent flow. Okay. So there are certain properties for streamlines, and the first property is, in a steady flow, no two streamlines can cross each other. So as I told, the streamlines are like this. The flow is steady, isn't it? So no two streamlines can cross each other. Cross each other means it should not come like this. What will happen? Because if I want to find a point like this, the velocity, direction of velocity at this point I want to draw a tangent like this, isn't it? Again, in this streamline, if I want to draw, the direction will be like this. It is not possible, because at the same point, how can there be two directions of velocity? It is not possible. That is, you have studied magnetic lines of force in your 10th standard. The same thing only, isn't it? So they never cross each other, and if they do so, the fluid particle at the point of intersection will have two different directions of flow, and this will destroy the steady nature of the fluid flow. Understand? So in a steady flow, no two streamlines can cross each other. Clear? Now the second point is, the tangent at any point on the streamline gives the direction of velocity of fluid particle at that point. So what does it mean? I told that when you are having a large number of streamlines, and if you want to find the direction of velocity at a particular point, you can draw a tangent at that point, which will give you the direction of velocity. So the tangent at any point on the streamline gives the direction of velocity of the fluid particle at that point. Clear? Next, greater the number of streamlines passing normally through a section of the fluid, larger is the fluid velocity. So if there are large number of streamlines passing through a section of fluid, it indicates that at that point the fluid velocity is larger. So the number of streamlines, as the number of streamlines increases, it indicates that the speed of the fluid at that area or at that section is larger. Okay, next, the fourth point is the fluid velocity remains constant at any point of a streamline, but it may be different at different points of the same streamline. So this is a streamline, clear? So in this point, for example, if we are considering a single point, the fluid velocity will remain constant at this point. That is, a particle crosses this point means it can have different velocity. Understand? So at this point, each and every particle passing through this point will have the same velocity. After this point, it may change or may not change. That is what the fluid velocity remains constant at any point of a streamline, but it may be different at different points of the same streamline. Understand? So this is a streamline. In this particular streamline, at each and every point the fluid velocity will be different. But when you consider a point, each and every particle crossing this point will have the same velocity. Understand? So these are the properties of streamlines. Important one, you have to go through it clearly. Understand? So next term is Reynolds number. It is actually a dimensionless parameter whose value decides the nature of flow of a liquid through a pipe. That means if you know the value of this Reynolds number, you can identify whether the flow is streamlined or it is turbulent. Okay, so that is the equation for Reynolds number is RE. It is indicated by RE, which is equal to rho V D divided by eta. Rho V D divided by eta, where rho is the, you know that, what is that? Density of the liquid. Rho is the density of the liquid. Then second one is V. V means velocity. V is the velocity of the liquid. Okay. Then next term is what? D. Capital D, which indicates the diameter of the pipe. Diameter of the pipe. And eta, it will be a new term for you that we will study it soon. That is, eta is coefficient of viscosity. We will explain it later. Coefficient of viscosity. Okay, so Reynolds number is equal to rho V D by eta, where rho is the density of the liquid, then V is the velocity of the liquid, D, capital D will give you the diameter of the pipe, and eta is the coefficient of viscosity. Okay. Now how is this Reynolds number important? That is, if the value of RE lies between 0 and 2000. Okay, as I told, by knowing the value of RE, you can identify whether the flow is streamlined or turbulent. So if the value lies between 0 and 2000, the liquid flow is considered to be streamlined. The liquid flow is considered to be streamlined. It can also be called as laminar. Okay, laminar flow. Laminar means steady flow. Laminar flow means steady flow. Then again, the value, if it is above 3000, then the liquid flow is considered to be turbulent. Is considered to be turbulent. Clear? Now if the value lies between 2000 and 3000, actually the flow of liquid is unstable. The flow is considered to be unstable. That means it may change from this steady to turbulent as well as from turbulent to steady. That is why this range indicates that it is unstable. Clear? So Reynolds number is a dimensionless parameter, and the importance is that by knowing the value, its value will decide the nature of flow of liquid through a pipe. That is, if the value is between 0 and 2000, the flow is streamlined. If the value is greater than 3000, it is considered to be turbulent, and the range is between 2000 and 3000, which means that it is unstable, which indicates that either it can change from turbulent to laminar or steady flow, as well as from steady flow to turbulent flow. Clear? Okay. Now we will check what are the types of energy possessed by a fluid which is in a steady flow. Okay, there is a flowing fluid with you, and what are the types of energy possessed by that fluid which is flowing and it is of steady flow. Okay, now so actually the energy that is possessed by a fluid is of three types. The first one is, as all know, the energy possessed by virtue of the motion, which we call it as the kinetic energy. Now the second one is potential energy. Which is by virtue of the position. Okay, and the third one is pressure energy. Pressure energy, and this energy is actually possessed by the liquid by virtue of its pressure. Okay, so there are three kinds of energy for a liquid which is in a steady flow. They are kinetic energy, potential energy and pressure energy. Now each one we have to study in detail and we have to derive the expressions. Okay, now first one we are moving to the kinetic energy. As I told, the energy possessed by a liquid by virtue of its motion is said to be kinetic energy. As the liquid is flowing, it should have kinetic energy. And you know the general expression, you have studied kinetic energy in your smaller classes, which is given by the expression half mv squared. Isn't it? Where m is the mass of the liquid and v is the velocity of the liquid. Now suppose I want to find the kinetic energy per unit mass. Kinetic energy per unit mass of the liquid. Okay. How can I write the expression? It is half mv square divided by m. Isn't it? What is that? Half v square. Half v square. Kinetic energy per unit mass of the liquid is taken as half v square. Okay, just you have to know this because next our topic is a principle which is very important in this chapter. So for understanding that, these all basics are needed. So listen carefully. So half v square is the kinetic energy per unit mass of the liquid. And also one more definition here you want to study, that is the kinetic energy per unit weight of the liquid is known as velocity head. Once again, the kinetic energy per unit weight. These two are entirely different. This is mass and this is weight. So weight you have studied, the expression is mg. So this expression, how will it change? Half mv squared divided by mg, which is v squared by 2g. Okay, so this is the expression for velocity head. How will you define velocity head? The kinetic energy per unit weight of the liquid. So v squared by 2g. Now again one more thing, the kinetic energy per unit oleum. Kinetic energy per unit oleum, how can you write? Yes, it is half mv squared divided by v. Now what is m by v? Mass by oleum will give you the density. So half into rho v squared. Half into rho v squared. Okay, so once again, there are three types of energy possessed by a liquid. The first one is kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is the energy possessed by a liquid by virtue of its motion. And kinetic energy expression, you know, half mv squared. First of all, kinetic energy per unit mass, you have to divide the expression by m, because per unit mass of the liquid. So divide by m, you will get half v squared. Then kinetic energy per unit weight is said to be the velocity head, and it can be calculated by dividing the expression for kinetic energy by mg, which will give you v squared by 2g. Next one is kinetic energy per unit volume, which is half mv squared divided by capital V. Don't get confused with these two v's. First one is velocity, small v, okay, and capital V indicates volume. So mass by volume will give you density rho. So the expression goes like this, half rho v squared. Clear? Now we are moving to the second type of energy, that is potential energy. So what is potential energy? It is the energy possessed by a liquid by virtue of its position above the earth's surface. If it is at a particular height from the earth's surface, there will be potential energy in it, because you know potential energy is actually because of position or because of the shape, its configuration, isn't it? And here you have, if it is based upon height, the expression is potential energy is equal to mgh. The potential energy is given by the expression mgh, and similar to the last section, you can find the potential energy per unit mass. What is the answer? Yes, it is mgh divided by m will give you gh. Okay, now the potential energy per unit weight is given as, the potential energy per unit weight is, what is the answer? mgh divided by mg, which will give you h. Okay, then finally potential energy per unit volume. The potential energy per unit volume is given as mgh divided by capital V will give you rho gh, because m by v is rho gh. Clear? And the third energy is new for you. It is pressure energy. Pressure energy. So what is pressure energy? It is actually the energy possessed by the liquid by virtue of its pressure. By virtue of its pressure. That is, a liquid under pressure can do work, isn't it? Suppose a cylinder is filled with liquid and you are applying pressure on it with the help of piston. So you are applying force on it, and there will be displacement inside the container, isn't it? So force into displacement will give you work, and if it is able to do a work, it is possessing energy also. So you can say that a liquid under pressure can do work, and so it possesses energy. Clear? Now we'll find the expressions. So now this figure, listen to this figure. Here there is a cylinder filled with liquid. Okay. Now this liquid is exerting a pressure P on this piston. Okay, so first the position of piston was here. Here this was the position. Then it exerted pressure. When it is filled with liquid, surely it will exert pressure, isn't it? So this pressure pushed this piston to a distance x. So now the piston is at this position. There is a displacement x happened here. Area of the piston is taken as A. Okay, so the piston moves through distance x under the pressure P. Clear for you? Now, so surely there is a force applied, that is what pressure, isn't it? Then it is when it is applied there is a displacement also. So you can find the expression for work as you have force and distance. So work is equal to force into distance. Force into distance. Okay. Now what is force in terms of pressure? Is P into A. Pressure into area into distance. Pressure into area into distance. Okay. Now in this figure I told P is the pressure, area is small a, and what is distance? It is x. Clear? Now what is this area into x? Area into x is the oleum. Oleum swept by the piston. So you can take it as P into V. That is AX is equal to V. P into V. And this is the work done. Actually this work done is stored as the pressure energy. So this work done is stored as the pressure energy. Okay. Of the liquid. Clear? So this is the expression for pressure energy. What is the expression? P into V. Now if you want to find the pressure energy per unit oleum can be written as pressure energy per unit oleum. What is that? PV divided by V, which will give you P. Okay. So pressure energy per unit oleum is P, which we call it as the excess pressure. Excess pressure. Now pressure energy per unit mass, how will you find? Pressure energy per unit mass is PV divided by M. What is that? Here oleum by mass. Mass by oleum is rho density. So it is 1 by rho. That is P divided by rho. P divided by rho. Also pressure energy per unit weight. Pressure energy per unit weight is given as PV divided by mg. PV divided by mg. Again P divided by rho g. Clear? P divided by rho g, and this is called pressure head. Pressure head. Okay, so pressure head is P divided by rho g. P divided by rho g. Also, the potential energy per unit oleum, we call it as the potential head. This is potential head. This one per unit weight is known as potential head. Okay, and the first one is velocity head. So there are 3 types of energy possessed by a flowing liquid, and they are potential energy, kinetic energy, and pressure energy. So keep this in your mind, and in the next class when we discuss the famous Bernoulli's principle, this portion is needed. So study it and be ready for the next class. Have a nice day and thank you.